In this video, I'm going to share with you the difference between MDMA and Psilocybin, which are magic mushrooms, used for therapy, their differences and their similarities. My name is Alice. I'm from A Whole New High. Welcome to our channel. So first of all, I'm going to explain to those of you who don't know what MDMA and what Psilocybin/magic mushrooms are. So MDMA is a substance which is created in the laboratory. It was invented in 1912, 1913 in Germany. And MDMA affects the brain by increasing the activity of 3 neurotransmitters: dopamine, noradrenaline, and serotonin. And because of that, MDMA actually quiets down your amygdala, which is the fear center of your brain. It's the fight and flight mode. When we're in the fight and flight mode, you maybe know sometimes when you're like a big fight and you like just want to run away or you just want to fight back, that's the fight and flight mode that is activated. And in that state, we can't think clearly, we can't heal trauma, and some of us with a very traumatic childhood are in that state constantly. Post-traumatic stress disorder. People can be in that state, and that fight and flight can be triggered like any minute of the day. Some people will had an accident, a car accident, when they were little, and they go out into the street where there are cars. They just get that memory back, and boom, they're back in the fight and flight. And that's why MDMA is a really amazing tool for therapy, because it calms down the amygdala. It calms down your fight and flight mode. So if you had something in your childhood that was very traumatic, and maybe you don't even remember, but you have post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, MDMA helps you to go back to that memory and to look at it again without the fight and flight being activated. So if you go to regular therapy and you try to talk about how you were sexually abused as a child, the fight and flight mode goes on in that moment that you talk about it. And in that moment, it's much harder for your therapist to actually bring you to that experience, to find some resolve in it, because now the therapist has to deal with your fight and flight mode. MDMA calms down that fight and flight mode, so you can directly go to that trauma and resolve it and look at it and realize that you're an adult now. You're not in this moment anymore from your childhood. So that briefly is what MDMA does. Psilocybin, on the other hand, is a natural substance that comes, like it's the molecule of the magic mushroom or the magic truffle that grows everywhere in the world. It's one of our very oldest psychedelic medicines that has existed for thousands of years, and there are records of it being used in very old cultures. And nowadays it has shown amazing effects, helping people that are depressed or have anxiety because of its working in the brain and the experience that you have from it. It is a molecule that fits into the serotonin receptors of the brain and diverts cognitive priority to areas associated with higher thought processes. Psilocybin will also make you feel that it is much easier to go into emotions. It is not the same effect as MDMA. You have more the feeling that somebody is actually guiding you, because this substance is a natural substance from a fungi which has consciousness, a spirit, and that spirit is guiding you and is showing you a new perspective on things. So when trauma happens when we're children, it stays a trauma because first of all, it's too much for our nervous system, but second of all, we make whatever happened to us mean something about us. And that's what's really, really painful. And that's a belief that's subconscious, and we carry that into our adult life. And it still stays subconscious. Sometimes it becomes conscious. when we realize, like, we feel like we're not worthy of love, or that we hate ourselves. These are things that come from our childhood, from experience we had, that we made mean that we were not lovable. We made it mean that we were not worthy. And psilocybin has that gift to go into these thoughts that we have created and show us a new perspective on them. It's like, yes, that happened, and that was really difficult, and here are the emotions attached to it. I'm going to help you feel them. We go through, and now I show you a new perspective, and it doesn't mean that you are not lovable. That's kind of how psilocybin works, and it does it in a very different way than MDMA, because MDMA is not psychedelic, so you won't have any visions on MDMA, but on psilocybin you will have visions. Sometimes, depending on the variety of psilocybin, you have much stronger visions than with other varieties. You have less visions, but the vision is usually part of the psilocybin experience, and you will have knowings that come to you, emotions that will feel like you will not feel like your usual self in that moment. On MDMA neither, but on MDMA you feel like your very best self. You will feel more like yourself than on psilocybin, because you will be completely in your perspective, but in your best perspective, in your personally highest perspective possible. That's on MDMA. On psilocybin you will be more like in somebody else's perspective, looking at what happened to you. So these are two main differences between two substances that do also have a lot in common. What they have in common is the introspection, to go inside of yourself, the less resistance to feeling emotions. They will help you to release stuck emotions from your system that you have been carrying with you for years. They both can help you to change your perspective, although psilocybin does it more in the way that it's like from a different being perspective, and MDMA is just like your personal highest perspective that kind of was always there, but you had never fully considered it. The main difference between MDMA and psilocybin is that MDMA will give you a feeling of safety, because it really calms down the fear center of your brain. And if you're there, of course, it will give you a feeling of safety only if you're actually there with a therapist, and not if you're dancing at a festival. But if you're with a therapist, it can give you that feeling of safety. You can relax, you can go into your trauma, and you can talk about it and move through the emotions that were never fully processed. And it does that in a feeling of safety. Psilocybin does not necessarily feel as safe, but it gives you a way more spiritual experience because of the visions you have, of that other perspective that you get. It often gives you a feeling of oneness, and like you're one with the universe, you're one with everything, you're one with the therapist in front of you, you're one with your loved ones. It gives you a feeling of gratitude for your loved ones and a feeling of like togetherness. Well, MDMA can do the same, but the experience on psilocybin is a lot more spiritual. So it is like this crazy spiritual experience that sometimes a person needs in order to break through. But MDMA gives you that feeling of safety that sometimes a person needs in order to even go to their trauma to resolve it first. So I personally think these are two amazing substances that I am very happy that I have worked with both for myself, and I'm looking forward to both of them being legalized for therapy soon, because both of them are in the process of being legalized for therapeutic settings. And psilocybin has already been legalized in Oregon for therapeutic settings. Psilocybin can also be taken in the Netherlands or Jamaica or Mexico when given by indigenous shaman. So there are already ways to get psilocybin therapy. MDMA is still really difficult to get. They are still in phase 3 of the FDA approval, but soon, hopefully, MDMA will be available as a therapy for people as well. And once it becomes available and once it's legal, I think it really depends on you personally, what you need in this moment. I think both are amazing healing substances. And I would say maybe if you have PTSD, MDMA can feel safer for you and it's easier for you, because when you're in PTSD, that fight and flight mode is activated all the time. So it will give you that feeling of finally I can just relax for a moment on MDMA, and it will be very easy for you to get into childhood trauma. However, that doesn't mean when you have PTSD you cannot also do psilocybin. There have been amazing results also for people with PTSD that have tried psilocybin. Psilocybin, on the other hand, is a good substance when you have depression or anxiety. It has been shown in clinical studies. And I say that when you have a severe depression, it is not the best idea to try out MDMA unless it is really, really in a controlled setting, but because it's not legal yet. Like if you think about doing underground therapy, the MDMA has to be really, really clean, and you need to have also the support in the days after, because what can happen is the MDMA calm down, which does not happen if the MDMA is completely clean. So if you get it from your doctor in a clinical study, they will make sure that it's 100% clean. But if you go to an underground therapist who got it from someone, it doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% clean. And if you have that calm down in the days after MDMA, which means that you for like 3 or 4 days you feel horrible, like mega depressed, that can be difficult for you when you have a depression, because then you have this amazing healing experience and then you go right back into depression. That doesn't happen a lot if you do it MDMA consciously, but it does happen sometimes. With psilocybin, this happens much less. So if you have a depression, just this would be good to look out for. But if you have the chance to participate in a clinical trial, that's not something you need to worry about. So to sum up, I just want to let you know, like, if you're thinking about MDMA or psilocybin therapy, MDMA therapy is the softer approach and psilocybin therapy is a more spiritual approach. Both are amazing substances for therapy and they have their strength. If you have anything to add that I did not mention, I would love to know about it in the comments. If you have any question or other comments, or if you just like to share what you thought about this video, I'd be very happy to read about it. And check out our other videos on the channel. If you'd like to work with us, you can come to the Netherlands for a psilocybin journey, or you can work with us online, like preparation sessions for psychedelic experience or integration sessions. And yeah, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you here again soon.